either A, people are going to start seeing how awful and how cruel and how ruthless this stuff is when it, happens in their backyard and quickly change their attitude, okay? Or B, the much worse outcome is we're totally on board with fascism.
Chicago is just one of many places.
Dude, Thomas Homan is such a goddamn hog. Like, he is literally a Harkonnen, dude. It is crazy to me that this gross piece of shit, who, by the way, Obama also used in his administration, is now like the face of the Trump deportations. He literally is a Harkonnen. Like, he's just like spitting every time he talks. He's so gross. Obviously, everything inside of him is gross, but like, it's crazy that he also, like, the evil within him has escaped. It's breached containment and it's coming out of him, coming out of every hole that he has in his body. He's like, I'm going to tell you right now, we're gonna eat the children. We're going to eat them. We're going to put them in a detention facility. I'm going to eat them. If you don't like it, you can get out yourself. The libs are ready. Juan Soto hater. Tomorrow I will hate watch like no one has ever hate watched before. Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it big.
So these raids, multiple cities, Chicago's been mentioned. What are your thoughts on that? And do you worry about some of these sanctuary cities resisting your authorities?
Well, look, I want categorized raids. They're going to be targeted.
I can't deal with this. I can't. He's so gross, dude. He is such a gross little monster.
I mean, that's what we want. Arrest a bad guy. We want to arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, where the officer's safe, the community's safe, and the alien's safe. But the sanctuary cities are going to force us into the community.
Alien's safe.
Because they're going to release that public safety threat back in the community, which is a huge public safety threat.
So I wonder why they're doing Chicago first, because it's a sanctuary city run by a pretty competent blue liberal governor, J.B. Pritzker. Like, California, Illinois, New York, these are supposed to be like technically sanctuary states. I don't know why they wouldn't start with like red states, but instead try to do a show of power in a blue state and a blue city. So we'll see.
On his turf, we have to access who knows what weapons, so it's very
I also don't know how this works in terms of like constitutional overreach. You know what I mean?
Everything we do, we're going to get enjoined down, we'll get sued every day, but it's not going to stop us from doing our job. But President Trump's made it clear, public safety is number one on his list. How many young women have to be raped and murdered and burned alive until the sanctuary cities understand this? I'm
going to be honest with you. When a guy that looks like this and sounds like this is talking about like young women being raped and murdered and being burned alive or whatever, I'm thinking, is it the random Guatemalan dude that works at the Chinese restaurant down the street that's doing that? Or is it this guy? Ask a lineup of people, they're probably going to go, that's the guy that's doing it, right? Like, that's the criminal, right? Like, I don't think it's the brown people that are doing that. You look like the guy who's doing that. Like, almost when he says stuff like this, he's almost like he's jealous. He's like, I want to be able to do it more. They're taking it away from me. It's just like my hard work doing the and pillaging. It's like hard work for an honest white man, you know? Back in my day, you could do that. Now, the Guatemalans came over. They took our jobs on that front. ICE raids are starting in Chicago Tuesday. Know your rights. Community is important now more than ever. Defend yourselves. If immigration agents stop you in public, not while driving, ask them to identify themselves. Provide your name only. Remain silent. If you choose not to speak, remember to not lie. Ask for a warrant. Check to see if your name's on it. And if so, it's spelled correctly. Record and report the incident. Stay calm. And don't run. Don't share your personal or loved one's information, name or address. Don't take ICE to your house to pick up your ID. Do not sign anything. Do not consent to being searched. ICE lies. Do not agree to what ICE asks. For example, do not follow them to their office, to immigration offices, or do not agree to meet them for coffee. Know your power. If you are home and immigration agents come to your home, keep calm. Do not open the door. If immigration agents enter your home without your permission, verbally express that you do not give them permission to enter your home and search your belongings. Ask for a search and arrest warrant. Do not answer any questions. Exercise your right to remain silent. If you do choose to answer questions, remember not to lie. Do not sign any documents. It's crazy because like I remember doing videos on this last time Donald Trump became president.
ICE is Gestapo, a state-sponsored law enforcement division created to wreak havoc in our communities, separate families, and punish people, well, overwhelmingly people of color, for the crime of wanting to pursue the American dream.
When you commit a crime against this country, enter the country illegally, you should be worried
ICE terrorizes your neighbors with its indiscriminate exercise of force and has less to do with violent criminal apprehension than ever before. You don't target jaywalkers when you're trying to end violent crime, so why do ICE targets range from teenagers in middle school to little girls with cerebral palsy on their way to the hospital? And no, I didn't misspeak. ICE literally apprehended a child with cerebral palsy.
A 10-year-old girl with cerebral palsy faces deportation after her ambulance was stopped at an immigration checkpoint while on her way to get emergency surgery.
Do you feel safe? I feel much safer knowing that this criminal is getting deported.
And things have not changed. Ask to speak with your lawyer or a loved one. If you feel safe, record the event with your cell phone, either through video or audio only. ICE lies. Do not agree to what ICE asks. For example, do not follow them to their office, to immigration offices like the USCIS, or do not agree to meet them for coffee. New, Trump's border czar has privately told GOP lawmakers to temper their expectations with the initial deportation operation, citing limited resources, according to multiple sources. It's a part of a broader, behind-the-scenes level setting of what's possible. Trump has said he wants to deport 15 to 20 million undocumented immigrants. The current convos are looking at deporting 1 to 2 million people, with an understanding that anything beyond that will require a lot more money and resources. That is crazy. Oh, just a couple mil, dude. 1 to 2 million. That's insane. 1 to 2 million people is an insane number, dude. What the hell? Not only is it inhumane, okay, but it's also unimaginably cruel. It's incredibly inhumane, and it's also super expensive. Expensive both in the detention mechanism, expensive in terms of like the detention facilities that they have to pay for, and last but not least, expensive because all of these people make up a very important part, a very significant percentage of the labor force. That's it.
Yeah, and the fact remains that the overwhelming number of immigrants here are law-abiding people who are paying taxes, who are following the law. And this sort of notion of like, we must remove all of them as rapidly as possible, and that's the problem with America, that's a really dangerous way to look at it.
Well, they're not going to be able to remove all of them.
That's right.
Like, almost everybody acknowledges that.
This is one of the best panels I've seen on it, both with Torre and Chuck Rocha. Like, this is one of the best panels I've seen on CNN so far. It's like they flipped the script entirely. Instead of having like 11 suits that are former or current Republican advisors. Where's Scott Jennings? I need to see Scott Jennings say some racist shit to be like, hey, when we're done with the Mexicans, we should do it to the blacks or something. You know what I mean? But in a liberal, appropriate way.
Probably not going to happen.
You'll see activity. I don't know about a lot of activity, but for anyone who thinks that Donald Trump is bluster and bluff on this issue, he ran on it. He didn't run on scare tactics. He ran on what was either.
Yeah, they got Fat Jennings instead.
They're the top issue or the second top issue among the American people for the entirety of the campaign. And so you're going to see him deliver on his promise. It will be a promise made, promise kept to start moving forward on that. But I will say, I think it is a fair criticism that expectations have not been appropriately set.
Former White House spokesman for President George W. Bush. Did you see the new New York Times poll? I did. A new New York Times poll shows high support for deportations ahead of Trump taking office, including 63% supporting deporting people who came here during the Biden administration. So here's the issue. This is what happens when the Democratic Party completely cedes ground to the Republicans on this agenda and doesn't ever counter message for the past 4 years. And as we now enter the final phase of full tilt fascism, we arrive at two different alternatives. Okay, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on here. Either A, people are going to start seeing how awful and how cruel and how ruthless this stuff is when it, happens in their backyard and quickly change their attitude. Okay. Or B, the much worse outcome is we're totally on board with fascism. Okay. I still think A is more likely than B. I still think that people will, as is predicted, as it usually happens, once it starts harming them, once they start seeing it happening, they will most likely go, oh, I didn't know it was going to be this bad. This is terrifying. This is terrible. Okay. I don't think people are going to be like, oh yeah, America is truly great now that we deported the Mexicans. Because it's not true. Because once again, I repeat and I remind you that the deportation stuff is not beneficial. It's not. Under no circumstance is it actually a good thing. It's not going to lead to better job opportunities. It's not going to lead to cheaper rent, cheaper housing. It's not going to lead to any number of different things that Trump has lied about. It's not going to decrease the crime happening in cities. Okay? Unless you want a white ethno state, first of all, a ton of Americans who are not undocumented are also not white. So no, the only people who truly are with it kind of recognize the negative consequences of such actions. But remember the Treat-Lorite Treaty, okay? Remember, Americans are little treat-lorites when the treat prices go up. Or Americans are incredibly selfish when a person that they like, that they hang out with, that they see, that they wave to down the street, that takes care of their children, okay? Like when their neighbors start getting busted for this, they're going to be like, oh, it's not just the bad immigrants that are being deported. It's all immigrants being deported. What the hell? And that is because there is no such thing as bad immigrants, okay? The people, the undocumented migrants that come to this country and do crimes are going to prison already. If you thought that they weren't going to prison, you're delusional, okay? You think the police force is woke, that ICE is woke, and they're just going, yeah, sorry, I know I want to, they catch a serial killer, okay? And then they're like, wait, what's your nation of origin? And the guy's like, El Salvador, and they're like, no, we have to let you go. Like, that's not how this works. Do you support or oppose each of the following? Deporting immigrants who are here illegally and arrived over the last 4 years, 63% support. Deporting immigrants who are here illegally and have criminal records, 87% support. Deporting all immigrants who are here illegally, 55% support. Ending birthright citizenship for children born to immigrants who are here illegally, 41% support. Ending birthright citizenship for children born to immigrants, getting 41%. Makes me kind of feel like it's not as much column A, but more so column B, okay? Where they're like, yeah, no, we do want to, denaturalize people. Ending protection from deportation. Ending protection from deportation for immigrants who were children when they entered the U.S. illegally. Ending DACA, 34% support. That is 3 times higher. The level of support for ending DACA is that last line, okay? The DACA program, the Dreamers program, Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals program, had 10% support under the last Trump administration. It's never swayed away from 90% support to defend DACA. That means it's increased 3 times. That is what happens when there is no adequate counterbalance to the endless faucet of immigrants are type arguments, okay? And it is completely born not out of real data, but out of the manic, hysterical fantasies of the racist Republican right. It's crazy. If you knew even a little bit about all of the rules that are set in place for DACA, you would understand why this is insanely cruel to suggest.